Hi there, and welcome to episode 11 of Diary of a Wayshower. And thank you for listening and tuning in. Wanted to talk today about the inner child. Um, we all have an inner child, and our inner child is our core self. Is when we're born. How a clear channel we are. You just need to look at a baby, don't you, and toddler, and how they're into all sorts of things. They've no fears. Um, they're so curious. Uh, they enjoy um, any texture, any device, anything, any toy. Anything can be made into a toy, and they can play for hours, can't they, with one thing? I mean, it's just so, life is so joyous for them, and we just love their innocence, don't we? And their capacity for joy. Um, and that is our core self, our soul self, our capacity for joy and love. And, you know, over the years, we tend to lose that, don't we, a bit as we go through all of the experiences of childhood and society conditioning and all of the things that our parents pass on to us, good or bad, and grandparents and caregivers and school experiences. We could go on and on and on, couldn't we? And you know, the inner child is so important, and I thought I wanted to talk to you today about that. Um, Came in this morning quite strongly to me, actually, because I realised that I'd written a course. It wasn't a very big one, but I'd written a course on the inner child, and I had it on my computer. And I remembered I'd written it a few years back, probably about 3 years back, 4 years back, I wrote it. And I never released it. And I remembered it this morning and went to look at it, and I was reading through the stuff I'd written, and I was thinking, oh, that's quite good, like there's some good points there, and all that sort of thing. So I just thought I'd sort of talk about that, because it's it's important that we consider our inner childs. And I don't know if any of you have ever done that before, if you've ever thought about your inner child and how your inner child feels. And you know I can see things from a holographic um, energy field, and I can look at a person's soul, and many of us can't we? And we can see the different aspects of that soul in regards to um, sort of the different archetypes within that soul as well. But of course, the inner child is our core, as I said, our core self. Um, and that's where all of our soul gifts and abilities and everything that we're good at comes out as a child. And of course, for me, it's a bit different in that, coming through extreme abuse and trauma, fragments the inner child. And of course, for me personally, they target purposely to fragment the inner child, especially in ritual abuse and MK Ultra and demonic programming, because that's how they are able then to fragment this personality and then insert programming into the fragments. That's how they do it, so that the fragments don't interact with each other. So you literally, what's left of your core self will not realize that there is a fragment that is contained, which is running a program that only comes on when it's triggered. Like for me, not realizing that I had alters, or that and alters are fragments of my consciousness, energetic, everything is energy, with a program inserted to do something that I would not be conscious of doing, um, because your core self will not realize that you have a program running in a fragmented piece uh, of consciousness that is then running separately from you. Um, I suppose that's the best way I can explain it. I mean, I had 5 altars. I had a baby altar, which was it was more of really a product and fragmentation of what they did to me, basically. So that altar, I don't think was functioning at all in any way for them. I think that was a byproduct of what they did, um, and I don't have those anymore. Uh, in the deprogramming process, also now you're able to release alters, and that is such a uh, an important thing for someone who suffered from something like what I have, because um, those alters can be very disruptive to you. It depends. Some people fragment and alter, and their alters are there to protect them from what occurred to them, what occurred when they were young. Me, it was a bit different. My alters were deliberately used for different jobs when I was being trafficked and being used against my will. So, as you know, your free will is violated, and there is nothing you can do to stop it, because you're not even aware that you have alters doing things that you don't know they're doing. It's the most bizarre thing to go through, to be honest. I can't even explain to you how. I still can't fathom out, that like all of that was just like alien to me, and I have no memory. I've got fleeting memories of what occurred to me when I was in my alter state as such, because those memories are not mine, really. Well, they are my memories, but they're memories linked to that part of the consciousness that believed it was its own being and soul in itself. God, it's complex. um I would like to speak to some more survivors of MK Ultra, actually, and mind programming that have really come up. And I'd love to talk to Kathy O'Brien, because of her journey and how she's deprogrammed. I'd love to talk to her, because I like to talk to someone who deprogrammed too, and how they live their lives. I think it would be helpful for me. Maybe I'll try and reach out or something, but it just yeah, it's but what is lovely, what I'll say is lovely, is that um, I've had clients that um, I've assisted to remove their alters, uh, and and their alters go, and now knowing how to do that, it's been very satisfying to see people improve dramatically after we can actually send their alters back to source. Um, it's such a, because they are relieved of, um, and those alters are suffering, you know, and we don't want them to suffer, do we? And they're just part of your consciousness, that's all. So all you're doing is sending your consciousness back to the source of all, of Mother, Father, God, and Source. So they're not going anywhere bad. They're going back to where they were created from, and they're part of you, but they're fragmented and they're suffering. So it's almost like you're sending them back to heaven. You're sending them back to somewhere amazing, and they get reabsorbed back into source and unity consciousness. And there is nothing missing from you when they go, because your consciousness is vast, and you're literally sending your alters back to your rishi god self back again. So they're not being sent away. They're going back to your god self, which I think is a lovely thing, and uh, you know, I love to show other people how to do that, because it's so wonderful to be able to do that for people. Um, so yeah, the inner child. Um, Before I healed my inner child, um, I felt very wobbly emotionally. Um, I'm not saying at times I can't still feel wobbly emotionally, of course, especially with what's going on, and we're all sort of healing and purging, aren't we? And releasing lots of the shadow things that we buried, even from um, eons of time ago, other timelines where we are, some of us are processing stuff from Atlantis now. I know I am. My Atlantean experiences are quite, were quite dark in aspects of the fact of the suffering that went on there for many of us and what happened to us. And I'm processing my that right now. Actually, I'm going through that right now, because I've not wanted to face that, as we don't want to, do we? I've not wanted to face that, but it's interesting. It looks like I'm processing and purging that right now, which is a good thing, because of course that those wounds from Atlantis have come down, through all the other lifetimes that you've had, so, and affects the whole. So, yeah, the wobbliness of where you may have a very wounded inner child just means that you cannot manage your emotions. You haven't got enough emotional intelligence. You let your emotions run the show. Um, I'm talking about like bursts of temper, and not being able to control it, or um, just crying uncontrollably when a situation occurs and you don't know what to do with it. You are sort of panicked. You go into a panic and you can't control your emotions or yourself. That is a good indicator that you have an inner child problem. Um, Fear of flight all the time, um, or being panicked by situations, um, uh, you know, not really being able to control your emotions. Um, that's another indicator that you could have issues with your inner child. I mean, we all have issues with our inner child. Whoever you are in the world, if you've not even had any abuse and you've led a good life as a child, there will be maybe aspects of your inner child that may have experienced something that they could not comprehend at the time, even though it might not have been that scary. But because they're still forming before the age of 6, 7, that core personality and body, they can interpret something as being very scary. And if nothing is explained to them properly or told to them, or the parent is lacking in their own emotional intelligence and cannot support the child in the correct way, then that child is going to like gouge that onto their timeline, internal timeline, and it will be an issue that they may not even know they're running as adults, but an experience shaped their response to a particular situation which occurs in adulthood, and then they almost like replay that scar and that what happened to them as a child. So, and it's interesting that the timeline of an inner child, if something specific happened to your inner child, um, on that time, on your childhood timeline, and it was particularly frightening or was aggressive, you can actually almost like splinter a version of yourself, um, and hook, and that will hook on to that timeline event and time where it happened, the year it happened, the month it happened, the day it happened, and there will be a version of you that is sort of stuck in that childhood energy. And whenever I've worked with people to do inner child healing, they can have like 250 versions of their inner child step forwards when we start to do the inner child work. And their inner child will be um, like there'll be different versions because of different things that happened on the childhood timeline, um, which has made a negative impression. We're only looking at things that disempower you and scare you and limit you. There are many things I'm sure that children have experienced in a very amazing way and positive way that, of course, expand the child, expand yourself, and give you good skills in your adulthood. Um, and that's fantastic. But we're talking about stuff that affects your inner child in a negative way. So, yeah, you can have so many different versions of yourself from your childhood, and there are always memories, aren't they? We've all got memories of certain childhood memories of things that weren't so good, nice, or your parents arguing one time and it was so, you know, um, so deep and raw that you can remember it. Or you're sat on the stairs with your brothers and sisters and your mum and dad are having a humdinger of a fight upstairs and you can hear doors banging and da da da, or and you just don't, you're worried what's happening to them. That can be a very scary thing for a child, and children can blame themselves, can't they? And you can imagine how that impression like sits with you. um, so we can all remember, I would have thought, an odd memory from childhood where our parents were arguing, or whether we felt scared or out of control, or whatever. And for me, it's a bit weird because my memories have been altered and tampered with so much. I cannot trust now my childhood memories, and I did have some. Uh, so I'm a little bit like it's a bit weird. I do have some childhood memories, and more negative childhood memories that weren't recovered, so to speak, due to the abuse. They were already there. Um, so I've got them. Um, but yeah, but the inner child is so important. So, and it's learning, if you weren't parented right, and we can all say that, can't we? And I'm a parent now, so I could only parent um, to the level that I was competent at the time I brought my two boys up. And looking back now, of course, I was level-headed on some things, and I was competent in some ways. Of course, I was, but there would be other ways that I wasn't, and I'm sure the effect of the abuse on me uh, affected my parenting. Of course, it did. It would have done. Um, I what I do what I do sort of be I am very grateful for is the fact I woke up when my children were still young. They were teenagers, but I woke up, and that is like I'm so grateful I did, because I remember my boy saying to me that I came across so much more peaceful after 2009 when I woke up. So, because I was meditating, I was really trying to work on myself and getting more comfortable with myself. And I think my parenting improved as soon as I woke up, because I was able to manage my emotions a lot more, and able to um, start to gain some inner peace that I so badly needed. So I think, and I'm grateful that I had an influence on them, probably at the right time as well. Um, you know, for them starting to grow up as teenage boys, as you can imagine. So I'm glad about that. And they got their influence of meditating from me, and I like that both of them are very open and are believers, and are not subject to the programming that goes on out there, and they're both unvaccinated, uh, both their choice, and I love that. Like, so I can be very grateful that I woke up in time to have a positive influence on them in that way. So that's something to be grateful for that. Um, but yeah, the inner child, it's about parenting yourself from how you didn't get parented. So, I have to be my own father and I have to be my own mother. And the father has to be the one who protects you. And so, me being my own father, uh, protecting myself, having boundaries, knowing when to tell someone to um, back off or don't disrespect me or whatever that means. Um, and I didn't have a lot of that. I didn't have any example of a father that would do that. He literally, sacrificed me. So I, learning to love myself and learning to parent myself the way I should have been parented, which I'm still learning to this day. Getting better at it, I'll tell you that. I'm getting better at it. And also mothering myself. And what does a mother do? A mother loves her child unconditionally. So learning to love myself unconditionally, and oh my goodness me, that's a hard one, isn't it? Do you find that? Um, are you too hard on yourself? Um, oh wow, I'm a Virgo as well, so um, I can be very hard on myself, self-critical, um, and very much want to tell myself I'm not doing good enough. I should be doing more. That's a typical Virgo thing anyway, but also that is from the wounded inner child. Um, Low self worth, low self esteem. That's all linked to inner child work. So the mothering yourself is learning to love yourself, warts and all. Uh, and I have built in really lovely little mechanisms that I use, little things I do that just help me get going. I talk to myself in a positive way. I say things like "Well done, Lynn," or "Well done, Linny," especially when I'm pushing myself to complete something or to do something that maybe is triggering me in some way, or I'm finding challenging. Put it that way. Um, I will say, "Come on, Lynn, you can do this. You can do. You can do this. Come on." I'll cheer myself on, and also I'll say to myself, well done, you." Um, like giving myself a pat on the back, um, to encourage me to keep going, and that whatever I'm doing, it's good enough. And that's another trait I think of self-loathing, self-hate, or not loving yourself, is that you like will trip your own self up, and you will criticize yourself, and you will sort of limit your expectations of life and limit your expectations of what you think you're capable of. And and that is a self-protection mechanism as well. Of course it is, because you don't want to fail, because if you fail, that will just reaffirm how crap you are or how not good enough you are, and that will reaffirm those inner, those thoughts that come through of uh, everybody else is better than me. And of course, low self-esteem, low self-confidence comes always with abuse, lack of self-respect, because that core energy of abuse eats away at your core self. And your core self as a child is confident. Every child born on this planet will be confident if they're brought up in those circumstances where they are encouraged, they are not berated, where they are encouraged to go for their skills, gifts, and abilities, and encouraged and told that they can do anything they want, that they are capable of anything. You know, you bring a child up in those sort of circumstances and in that sort of energy, they will have high self-worth and self-esteem. But of course, in today's society and also the programming on the planet, most children suffer from some form of um, lack of belief of themselves. The schooling system doesn't encourage this either, does it? Um, Deliberately, I do believe, even though maybe the people teaching don't realise what they're doing. But you know, it's all designed uh, to get children to lose their way, so that they don't know what they're good at, and they're not encouraged to do that. So there's so much we could do when we bring our children up in the right way, in the right energy. Um, I think we forget how the matriarchal tribes from eons ago brought their children up to um, have high self-esteem and confidence, and to let them discover what they were good at, to let them go off and try loads of different things, so that they could um, gravitate to a certain thing they're good at. Um, you know, seeing it in both my children actually, and where their skills lie and laid. You know, um, it it certainly, you know, what a child is really obsessed about at times, and taking away the video game influence and internet and all of that stuff, if you were to see what children would gravitate to and keep going to, it would give you the indicator of where their higher soul gifts and abilities lie, and what to do with them. So I just thought I'd talk about that. Years ago, I used to do children's star reports. I even taught other people how to do it, and um, it was tapping in to the child's I am presence. So we weren't going into their energy field or anything like that. We were talking to their I am presence and asking, what do you want your parents to know? Oh, it's fascinating, the conversations I had with the, um, you know, the I am presence and their soul. And they would say things like, oh, can you get my parents to remind me about the stars? Can you get them to remind me that I'm really good at astronomy? Can you get them to remind me that I came here to bring a new, I don't know, a new way of looking at stars? All sorts of really interesting stuff like that. And I'd then reel it off to the parents, and they just like go, oh my goodness, that's their personality. And I could be like reading them from 2 years old, 3 years old, you know. It was amazing. And then they would go, I'd give them a list of things to go and get. Well, can you put this on their wall in their bedroom? Can you put a star map on their wall with their name underneath it or something? Just little reminders of, you know, this is part of your gift. Your soul gift is this. Not meaning that they have to go and become an astronomer when they're older, but it could be something that they're meant to write about the stars, or books about you know what I'm saying, don't you? Or they could maybe become an astrologer or whatever. But I think that was, you know, a lovely thing to do. And we did that, you know, in other eons of time. That's what we used to do. We used to tap into the soul of the child before they arrived, so that we knew who was coming and what they would need to be the best and biggest that they could be, um, and fulfill their blueprint of why they came here in the first place. And so many of us have been taken off our blueprint. Um, you know, that's why I'm so keen on talking about blueprints of why you came here. Why did you come here? What did you come to do? Yeah, what are you good at? Because you, like anything, if you find what you're good at, your confidence grows anyway, and your self-worth does, doesn't it? And that's what, in my personal experience, that's what I've experienced. As I found out that I could write, and I could teach, and I could bring, and I'm a good healer, then that builds your confidence and self-esteem up, because you realize that you are good at something and you're meant to be good at that because you've always been good at it. It's part of who you are on a soul level, and that grows confidence in you, doesn't it? And then you want to do more of it, and you get better at it the more you do it, and that does grow your self-confidence and self-esteem, and that's a wonderful thing. And that's why children should be encouraged to do what they want to do when they're good at something, because it builds confidence and self-esteem. So there you go. So this is all about children, isn't it? And inner childs. And as I say, it's the theme that came up last few days for me anyway. And I thought it was great to talk about it. And I hope I'm just getting you to think about your own childhoods, and like, what were you good at when you were a child, if you can remember? Some of us can't even remember. I mean, I'm a bit of an exception with what happened with me, but I know a lot of us don't really have much memories of childhood, especially if you're a starseed. You, I found that a lot, that trait a lot, that we don't really know. We don't have much, you know, personal memories of childhood. Um, but yeah, what you gravitate to, what you're good at, um, is always a key to your higher soul gifts and abilities, and to develop them. You know, that's what I say. And it's true. I've seen it. I've seen it in countless people I've done readings for and things. My voice, can you hear it? It's a bit croaky today. I was training all weekend, so you have to talk a lot and do the journeys and activations and all that sort of thing. So I've just got a little bit of a croaky voice today. Um, and yeah, so the inner child, I think you should look at your own inner child, and I hope that I'm prompting you to do that, and to give her the love that you did not have. I think that's really important, to give her the love that you didn't have, or what you felt you were lacking in. You replace that now. You become your own parent. You reparent yourself. That's what I'm doing right now. Giving myself the love, the respect, the praise, self-praise, the support, giving myself boundaries. I'm much better now with being able to say no, being able to not feel guilty when I say no, to be able to stick up for myself if someone is trying to disrespect me. Uh, and that, I feel, is something that has, not been there in my life really. So it's lovely to have, um, to be learning that, and to be feeling like, because that's, then you feel you're in your power, don't you? You don't feel disempowered. You feel you're in your power, and you can handle anything and anyone, or anything that comes into your life, and that's a good thing. That's a very positive and good thing. So it's been a long time in me being able to get to this point. We're all still learning. We're all still healing, myself included. So I'm still on my own journey of gaining that self empowerment, and standing in my power, and not being ashamed of what I stand for and what I say, and all the normal stuff. But it's badly lacking in a lot of light workers and starseeds, well, whole of humanity. But in starseeds and light workers, we we do lack confidence and self-esteem, and we have to work on our, as I say, on our inner child. We'll all have been targeted one way or another as a child, and I'm sure lots of you have got stories about that. Um, so just thought I wanted to talk about the inner child and the journey for me of reconnecting to little Lynn. Um, little Lynn, who was, I suppose, so lost. I lost my core self. I never really knew who my core self was because I was splintered and fragmented so young that there was no, the abuse started from when I was born, really, in one way or another. And the core Lynn, she couldn't form. Core Lynn couldn't form. She was targeted too much to be able to build her core self. And then for me to try and find out who is really Lynn, who is my core self? What do I really love? What do I really love to do? How do I, how do I, how does Lynn really want to express herself? What is Lynn capable of doing that I didn't believe in myself because I wasn't meant to? Why am I really here? What am I really doing? What have I come here to do? Um, how can I express myself in the most best way? You know, it's something that I'm going through right now of finding out who Lynn really is and what Lynn really wants. Um, yeah, it's I'm still discovering every day of who I really am, and what I want and what I desire. And I think that's another thing. Wounding of the inner child um, very much will get you not to want to dream or to aspire to anything big. You want to keep yourself small. Um, Maybe you won't want to bring attention to yourself. You'll hide um, because you don't want to be seen for some reason. And there's so many different expressions of how we can be presenting as a wounded inner child. Um, and it's sort of, as I say, peeling the layers off, isn't it? But a fragmented inner child, when you've got a severe fragmented inner child, if there's been abuse, that fragmentation of the inner child needs to heal. And that's about you engaging with your inner child and bringing her to you and sitting with her or sitting with him and trying to listen to what they have to say to you. What do they want to tell you that you need to know? And they may just want to be heard because no one's actually ever listened to them and no one's actually ever really heard what they have to say, and they may need to say it to you to be able to start to heal. So that's another thing, having a conversation with your inner child, and letting her out, and also going to rescue her, rescue yourself, um, going in and saying, I've got you, picking her up, cuddling her, kissing her, and saying, I'm never ever going to leave you alone again. I'm never ever going to let you down. I'm never ever going to not hear you and see you and witness you and validate you, and that you've got me and we're together and we are a team and we have got each other's backs, and I am your parent and I will love you and support you and give you everything you need to thrive, not just survive. Because a lot of us are in survival mode. You know, that's all how we've ever operated, isn't it? In survival mode. I could. There's so much you could talk about with the inner child, but I don't want this to go on too long. So I just thought I'd talk about inner child a little bit. That's, I've done lots of work with my inner child, and Because my inner child was fragmented so profoundly. um, my major sort of rescue of my inner child was in 2020, when I discovered I'd been very badly abused. And I actually energetically went to get her. Um, and she was buried behind a brick wall. I may have mentioned this in an earlier episode, I can't remember. Um, but yeah, she was buried behind a brick wall in my own energy field when I went into my heart to start searching for her. And I took down a few bricks, time by time, until I could throw in a torch to her. I knew she was in there, and I bricked her up, basically, energetically. And when I went to get her and took the wall down, oh my goodness me, the image of her I've still got now. She was black, like dirty black. It's like she'd been put in a cell, and forgotten about, and she'd been in there for years, and she'd given up. She was hopeless. She'd been abandoned, um, and she was, like she was in, I don't know, I think a white blouse and a grey skirt, almost like a school um, uniform, but it wasn't a school uniform. And she looked to be about 4.5, 5, and her hair was all unkempt and dirty, and her fingernails were dirty, and just like a neglected child, basically. Um, and she recognised me, but was scared to come to me until I said, "Hey, I'm you, and you're me. I'm your future self." And she got that, and sort of then ran into my arms. Well, she could hardly walk, actually. I think she tried to get up and stumbled down. And I went to get her and picked her up in my arms and said, "That's it, come on, you're coming out of here right now." Which was the rescue, the start of the rescue of my inner child, the start of the rescue of me, uh, claiming back my childhood, claiming back me, whole in. It was a very symbolic time, a very emotional time when I got her back. Um, and amazingly, we healed her, with, with, with a group of cosmic unicorns, I might add, which was hilarious. It's such a, that was a joyful time, actually, because I saw her change over a course of about 2 weeks, energetically, because she was in a very amazing healing space. And we put her in with the cosmic unicorns, and we built her a little bedroom, and we had a heart-shaped bed and pink covers, and she had dolls, and she had a paddling pool, and she had, yeah, lots of things. And one day, I've got to make you laugh. One day, I've left her in there for a few days with the cosmic unicorns. I thought, oh, I'll go and see her. So I travelled down, through my heart, set the intention to go and see her. And she's playing in the paddling pool with a unicorn. What a sight to behold. There is a unicorn sat in the paddling pool with my little inner child, and they're splashing water at each other, and she's giggling away, like loving it. She's clean, her hair's gorgeous and long. She's in a lovely little dress. The light is shining from her eyes. She's playing in the water with the unicorns, and she's having a whale of a time. And I just like, oh, just to see her, that was just amazing. She lit up when she saw me, when I walked in the room. She just lit up, and I think I went over and sat by him, and it was lovely. And then I was able to start talking to her, and she was able to start talking to me. and telling me what happened, not in great detail, and she didn't need to, but telling me enough. I said to her, you can tell me what you need to tell me to make help you. And that was like the real start of the healing of the layers of my inner child. And it was a very beautiful and wonderful thing to experience with her, to see her lightening up, and to know that she was with me, and I had her covered, and I, you know, it, it, that is such a powerful thing, I tell you. So I hope you've enjoyed listening to that, and maybe just like prompted you to look at your own inner child. Try and have a conversation with her or him, and have a really loving conversation as you as a parent. So if you are a parent, treat your inner child like your own child, and talk to her, and talk to your inner child, and like you would do to your own child, and take care of them like you would your own child. That's what I sort of would advise you to do. And that's the start of really getting conversations going that can really help you move forwards and advance very quickly. It's a lot of, it's an unseen healing that needs to take place that many people forget about. And it's actually the inner child that's holding you back in lots of ways. If that inner child is scared, and there's fear based in that inner child core. So there you go. Thank you so much for listening. I'm so grateful, and if you enjoyed this, if you could like this, I'd appreciate it, and subscribe. I would really appreciate it too. So thank you for listening. Till next time, have a great week, and I hope you've been enjoying the weather. The weather's been glorious where I am. It's been gorgeous, but we've got a dull day today and very cloudy, so it just gives a bit of a breather from being too hot. So, but anyway, enjoy, and I hope you enjoyed the summer solstice or winter solstice wherever you are. We just gone through the solstice point, and whatever's going on in the world right now, and you know what I'm talking about. It's drama llama. It's there's a pantomime show being produced right now, and don't buy into it. I don't buy into that. We're walking our timeline of love, and that is our timeline, not theirs. That is their timeline stuff, not ours. I don't think it's even real anyway. I think it's all put on, to be honest. I don't think it's happened at all anyway. And you know what I'm talking about, I'm sure. Okay, so sending you all my love. Till next time. Bye.